Today I'm in a rental property. One of the very, very rare times that I have a property actually vacant. I've been extremely successful, especially because Seattle has such crazy high demand, or at least it has for the last decade or so. I've been very successful at actually getting tenants to occupy like the day after lease is up. Now, that's not super easy to do. That means you have to start doing showings a good 4 to 6 weeks before it's vacant, and it means you have to very, very closely coordinate with your tenants. And frankly, sometimes the unit's not completely ready to go. Like as far as the ones who are moving out, it's very common to underestimate how much time it's gonna take for them not to get every single cleaning item done. And so in a perfect world, you should allow yourself a few days of buffer. But in a world where you're trying to maximize your income and minimize your vacancy downtime, if there is that sloppiness, I'm just always very, very generous with the new tenants as far as offering them money off for their rent and making sure they're totally cool with it. Usually I'll let them know I will be able to discount your rent by this much this month if you want to just finish that cleaning. If not, I will bring professional cleaners in there right now. But frankly, it's not been a big problem. And typically for me, I'm able to I have a really good relationship with my tenants because I treat them really well. That's also super important as a landlord, and usually they do a really good job of getting it ready to go. I do a walkthrough the night before and then a walkthrough the next day with the new tenants, and if there's little things that need to get done, I'll usually do them that night or that day of the walkthrough to give myself at least a day for little things that way. Now, the other thing that I think is really important in this whole conversation, just like anything in business, is valuing your time. So for me personally, you need to understand, based on your current income, what your time is worth. And this is just economics. I mean, we're all valuable humans and our time is valuable. But as far as economically and dollars go, my other businesses, the way that I run them and the amount of time that I put in as an absentee owner, I make about $500 an hour, give or take. So that means for stuff like this, if I can hire it out for $500 an hour, I typically will. But also, there's a lot of inefficiencies with hiring contractors, and I don't blame them for this. How anything is priced is based on supply and demand. Contractors tend to be in high demand, and there is a lowering and reducing supply, especially as the last 10 and 20 years we've been telling every kid that he needs to go to college and putting less people in the trades. Electricians and plumbers, there are less of them now. They are aging, and there is just as much demand, especially in this area. So for them to charge crazy high rates is not unreasonable. So that being said, at this property, the other thing you have to keep in mind with rental property is you have to know your property, its value, your neighborhood. I'm not gonna do an A+ remodel or paint job or fix up on a B unit and area. Hopefully you guys are seeing the background here. This is actually a finished basement that's a mother-in-law suite. I would consider this a B property in a B neighborhood. So I'm not gonna come in here and spend $5,000 on interior paint to get it to be, top of the market and show extremely well. I'm also usually flexible with my tenants where if there's really bad areas that need paint, like this kitchen was really bad, I went ahead and did that myself. That only took me like 2 hours, where to pay someone it would have been $500 to $750 to do the prep, the paint, for them to pay for their time to come out and all that kind of thing. Because again, when you're hiring a contractor, you're not just paying for their time, you're not just paying for the paint, you're paying for them to physically come out here. I mean, a lot of trades will have a trip fee just to show up to give you a bid. You're paying for their expertise. And frankly, painting is a super simple skill. And actually my very, very first business was a painting business, so I can do it okay and well enough. So by doing those little projects, I'm actually making more than $500 an hour. So it makes sense for me to do that, especially when it's only gonna take combined like a day, day and a half in the trips that I'm coming out here. So those are things that you want to keep in mind, and especially if you're getting into rentals or have rentals, is having little handyman skill sets. The other thing that I've been able to develop over the years is being able to, when it comes to appliances, sometimes there's very, very simple fixes, especially with dishwashers, where me coming out, especially if it's a unit that's relatively close to where I live, I can get there and back in under an hour, do work in an hour, fix it. That's going to be better than hiring somebody. But I have definitely in the past, especially for my rental properties that are further away from me, hiring a handyman, or frankly, sometimes I just know a unit is older and it just makes sense to replace it. An oven that's 12 years old that they're having issues with, that I can pay Lowe's $400 to come and deliver it, and it takes 30 minutes of my time or less between phone calls and organization and letting the tenant know and that kind of thing, that can make a lot of sense that way. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, as a landlord, as an entrepreneur, value your time, know your dollar amount, which for me is $500 an hour at this point in my life. And as I continue to grow and improve, I'm hoping that number continues to rise. And make your decisions based on that, especially when it comes to bigger projects or medium-sized projects and other things like patching holes in the wall. You know, it's really easy to buy a kit. It's very common in a rental property to have medium-sized holes, or sometimes people when they're moving accidentally knock a hole in the wall because they have a big frame on their bed or their whatever. And so me and a walkthrough when I'm going to be here already, so my time is already committed to being here because I have to do the final walkthrough, to buy a $12 patch kit that takes me 20 minutes to install and do the mudding on, and then coming back another day when I was planning to do painting anyway. You know, those types of things I'm definitely making over $500 an hour doing them. So I think that that's a good thing to keep in mind when you're deciding, should I hire out or should I do the project myself? So this property, we're currently trying to get it it's on the market right now. I'm trying to get it to show a little better. We're doing all the patchworks. These tenants put a lot of little holes in the wall, and it's really, really easy to patch those, painting certain areas that need it, doing some other items that are just a little overdue, and getting it ready to go. And if you are getting into real estate or currently into real estate or a landlord, definitely, you know, look at it also as a way to build skills, doing, like I'm talking about, patchwork, painting, you know, being more comfortable with appliances, little things like that, and little skills where, especially if you're already at the property, being able to do it yourself can save a lot of money, because there's just simply inefficiencies of hiring a company that has overhead, that has fuel and labor just to show up, that are doing things that are relatively low skill and in an area that has super high demand and low supply, where it means you're paying a premium for it even though it's not that hard to do. Do that stuff yourself. Now, I'm not telling you to become an electrician or to handle really complicated things. You know, typically speaking, if it's electrical, I'm always hiring an electrician. Now, granted, today, there's 2 outlets in here that need to be replaced. They're functioning, but they've had arcing where there's like dark, basically burn marks on them. It's so easy to turn off a breaker, and you have to do that for safety. You do not want to electrocute yourself. You can die doing that. And not that it would happen, well, anyway, that's not safe. So you want to make sure that you're being safe with that. I have enough experience and time and learning from my dad growing up and having, you know, the handyman type knowledge that as long as you're being safe about it, it only takes like 10 minutes to replace an outlet. So I'm going to be doing 2 of those myself. But of course, always make sure the breaker is off. Always test that outlet after you've done the breaker. You know, whether it's having like I have a vacuum with me for a shop vac, so I'll just plug it in and make sure it doesn't work. So I'm 100% sure that there's no power there, and I can swap those outlets out in like 10 minutes because it's just a couple screws and replacing the wires that are already there. So little things like that. If you're in real estate, if you're becoming a landlord or looking to become a landlord, you know, learn those things over time. Maybe dedicate some time to learning and doing that on your first few times you turn a unit, and it can save you a ton of money. But when it comes to bigger projects, when it comes to projects where you're making more at your other job or your other business or your other income source than it would take for you to do it here, outsource that kind of a stuff. So hopefully that's helpful. This is going to be a continuing theme on this kind of the Biz of Living Off the Land channel, because real estate and business and entrepreneurship is all part of being self-reliant, and it's those skills and that mentality that's allowed me to be able to spend, you know, 3 days a week out in the woods and in the mountains, and to buy the property that I have and to invest in land. And so this is all part of that bigger picture mission of becoming self-reliant and relying on yourself and being able to take freedom of time. And that all starts with sustainable income that does not require your time. As always, comment, let me know what kind of questions or skills or things are helpful or things you agree with or questions you have about this. And I look forward to seeing you guys in the next one. My mission is self-reliance through sustainable living, and we're here to build a community. Click here to subscribe to be sure to get more awesome content for living off the land. And be sure to go in to enter for notifications. Click that bell, get notifications, and stay in tune. Subscribe, watch, and comment. Let's build a community. See you soon.